Welcome guys, it's Abhigan Mishra, just another quantum computing enthusiast from Quiftex. So until now we have already discussed about qubits, how it is represented, about block sphere. So moving our discussion further, in this video we will be discussing about single qubit gates and how they manipulate the state of a given qubit. So we are already familiar with this representation of qubit where 0 is represented at 1 0, with this is alpha, let us say, and this is beta, where the square of this value represents the probability of finding the state to be 0, while the square of this value represents the probability of finding the value to be 1. We already know that. So we are also familiar with block sphere. We know that this represents 0, this represents 1 state when the given omega is pointing at these points, and we know that this is nothing but superposition or plus, where plus is equal to 1 by under root 2, 0 plus 1, and this is nothing but 1 by under root 2, 0 plus I1. We've already discussed these things in the previous videos about this video about the block sphere. You can check it out if you missed it. So moving our discussion further, in this video we'll be discussing about single qubit gates. These are the basic single qubit gates we will be dealing with in the later videos and in various algorithms which we will be studying later. So all these three gates constitute a group known as polygates, and they have the given x, y, and z represents the change it has on the orientation. For example, the x gate will change the orientation, along the x-axis. The y gate will change it along y-axis, and z will change it along the z-axis. Not too complex. So now let's deal with each gates individually. So we have here is x gate and the matrices associated with it. In quantum computing, it is important to know the matrix associated with the given gate, because the given matrix is actually what conveys us the intuition about how it changes the state of a given qubit. So basically, if we have any gate, let us say that we applied x gate on a given qubit 0, then this means nothing but this matrices will be multiplied by the given matrix which is associated with this given state of the given qubit. So let us say it was 0, so we know that 0 can be represented as 1 0, and we as you can see, the x gate can be represented as 0 1 1 0 1 0. If we multiply these matrices, what we get is 0 1, which is nothing but 1. So what we see here is that the x gate is nothing but not of classical computation. What it does, it swaps these amplitudes. If this amplitude was the square of this amplitude was associated with the probability of finding 0, it now becomes a square probability of finding a 1. As you can see, the alpha naught goes here and the alpha 1 goes here. This is exactly like this operation where we just change 0 to 1. We just basically swapped the given qubit. We will have a better intuition about what actually is happening to a given qubit when in the later part of the video I show you visual representation of all these operations and its effect on the given state of a qubit. Moving on, then we have y gate and the matrix associated with it, 0i minus i 0. It does the same thing. It just basically shifts the given state of a given qubit along the y-axis. So it went from alpha naught to minus, it swaps and also adds in iota because it moves along the y-axis. So it went from alpha naught 0 to minus I alpha 1 0 plus I alpha naught 1 from alpha 1 1. And this same goes for z gate. The z gate swap changes the orientation, or you can say change the state of a given qubit along the z-axis. And all these gates basically turns the given qubit, this omega, you can say this angle, this theta and omega phi, by 180 degrees. So it was when x gate is applied, it just turns the given qubit state with an angle of 180 degree along the x-axis. Same goes for z gate, which changes the orientation by degree of 180 by an angle of 180 degree along the xz axis, and same goes for y. Then we have Hadamard gate. I think you might remember I mentioned this state 1 by under root 2 0 plus 1 and called it superposition. because there's 50% probability of finding the state of this given, if this was omega, let us say, if this given omega to be 1 or to be 0. This is a special state and which can be achieved with the help of a Hadamard gate. So the matrices associated with Hadamard gate is this. So when we multiply, let us say I apply Hadamard gate to a given qubit 0, and what we see, we get a 1 by under root 2 1 1, which is nothing but 1 by under root 2 0 plus 1 by under root 2 1. If we square these values, we get 1 by 2 and 1 by 2. That means it has a 50% probability of being 0 or 1. The same goes for 1. When we multiply the given matrix of Hadamard gate with the association matrix of the given qubit for state 1, we get 0 minus 1 under root 2, which also states that it has a probability of being 0 with a 50% and probability of being 1 with 50%. And then we have phase shift key. The phase shift gate is basically it is a special form of Z gate. While the Z gate rotates the given state of the qubit by 180 degree, the phase shift gate allows us to rotate by arbitrary theta. For example, if you wanted to rotate the given omega by let me say pi by 4, then I can apply r pi by 4 to achieve that change in state. This plays an important role in the later and more complex algorithms, which we'll study later. And another important thing to notice is, first of all, let me tell you about identity gate. Identity gate is nothing but you can say constant function gate. If you pass x along identity gate, you get x. It's basically used for filling of spaces. You'll see, as I show you about the visual presentation of all these gates, you'll see about it. And another important thing to notice is, if you have noticed or if you try it out, all these gates are reversible, which means that, for example, if this is a given circuit and let me say it was 0 here, if I apply 2x gates just one after another, we already know that when we apply a gate, it's nothing but matrix multiplication. So we know the gate for x, let me say 1 0 multiply, you can say 0 1 1 0, and then we have, let me say you can say let me add it here 1 0. So what we'll notice is, if you multiply these two values, it gives nothing but identity matrix, which is 1 0 0 1. And this particular property, that two gates, let me say x and x, will be identity, is true for all the gates which we have studied till now, all these gates. Let me tell you about T gate. This is the first special form of Z gate. Basically, Z gate is further has an S gate and a T gate. S gate is nothing but root Z, you can say root Z rotation. If Z rotates by 180 degree, S rotates by 90 degree, and this is nothing but, T gate is nothing but fourth root of Z, so it just rotates by pi by 4. Okay, now so basically if you were to if this R5 gate, or you can say phase shift key, basically covers this gate and the S gate. So you should be familiar with this, and you are already familiar with this and this gate. So I already told you about this particular property is known as reversible computation, which means that if you apply let me say, if this was my given qubit, if I apply an X gate and if I again applied an X gate, what I'll get is 0 again, which means I just reverse my computation by applying the gate again. This is known as reversible computation. And this particular property also allows us to predict that what was the input which gave us the same output, you can say. So not without wasting any more time, let us now get to the actual visual representation of the operation of all these gates. So what I'm using here is, it's an interface by Q control. It's a great representation. It gives us a block sphere, and we can choose the initial phase for this first thing I'll choose it to be plus z because I want it to be 0, and it allows us to apply gates to this and see how the given state of the qubit changes. So to begin, let's keep it simple, and I apply an x gate. Okay, so what you see here is that the given qubit rotated, or you can say shifted, but by an angle of 180 degree along the x-axis. It was along this x-axis. Is shifted along this x-axis. We can do same for, let us say, y. Please note a difference, which will both x and y will basically change this from the 0 to 1, but it's about along the axis on which it rotates or shifts by an angle of 180 degrees. So now I use y gate. Okay, so you notice here that now our axis of shift is y axis. The whole qubit shifted. It gave the same result. It still went from 0 to 1, but the axis of rotation here was y. Now let us apply another pop quiz. I'll use z gate when my initial stage was along the z axis, and you'll notice that it does not affect the qubit at all. Can you guess why that happened? Well, it's quite simple, and I think you all guessed it. If the qubit is already along the z axis, then any rotation along the z axis will not affect the state of the given qubit. Now we'll apply Hadamard gate. Yeah, it will be an interesting output to see how Hadamard gate responds to the given qubit. So what we notice here is the given qubit went from 0 to along the x-axis, which I've already told you is nothing but plus state, or you can say 1 by under root 2, 0 plus 1. So when it is here, it has a 50% probability of being 0, which is up, or being 1, which is down, if we measure this qubit right now. And the reason for this semi-arc or the semicircular position is this is among the matrix associated with this Hadamard gate. And let me now, in order to try these, this is nothing but root of z gate, this is nothing but 4th root of z gate. We need the qubit to be along the x-axis or y-axis, because the rotation is along z-axis. So in order to actually notice the change in the phase, we need it to be here. So I'll leave the Hadamard gate there, and now let me say first of all apply z gate to actually show you that how does it work. So first the qubit goes to 51 position, that is along x-axis, and when z is applied, it shifted by an angle of 180 degree along the z-axis or z-axis. So okay, now let me tell you about the S gate. So S gate is nothing but half the rotation of the previous Z gate. So it should go and stop here on Y. Yeah, because it rotated or shifted by an angle of 90 degree. Now the same goes for T gate. It will rotate it by an angle of 45 degrees. So it should be somewhere like here. And yeah, it just went here. You will see this interesting figure. And what if, let me tell you and give you an interesting to show you the reversible computation property. What I'll do here is I'll apply Z gate again. Apply Hadamard gate again. What you should notice here is a complete circle should be obtained where this will go down and this should go up back to the 0. Because I told you that all these gates are in reverse of each other. So there you go. It just completed a full circle, therefore it went back to the state from where it started. So thus showing that these two gates are reverse of each other. And there are two. You must, and this is another form presentation. There's another form, or you can say another tool that you can use in order to check the effect of the gates on the state of a qubit. This is known as a Quark. This is an open source tool, and it's quite famous and commonly used in the quantum computing community. So let me tell you, all these gates, you already know these basic gates. Then these are quarter gate. This is nothing but half of the rotation of the previous gates. Then these are 8-turn gate, which are nothing but 1/4 rotation of the original gates, and so on. So I think you must have got the basic intuition behind all these gates, single qubit operations, and how they change this given state of a qubit. And yeah, I think that's it for this video. And now I feel that you are ready for learning some basic algorithms related to quantum computing, which will only use single qubit gates. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.